So, here is the silent fellow passenger from the mail coach.
Praised be our Lord.
Forever, amen. I am happy you've come, Professor.
It was impossible to resist such a kind invitation, Father.
Don't tell me. I felt so guilty for being so cold and unfriendly during our journey. We didn't say a word to each other, Professor.
I must tell you, I was a little surprised, Father, but everyone has difficult times. With your permission, that is how I explained your behavior.
Unfortunately, you're correct, sir. I was very disturbed during the journey. You see, a very good friend of mine is lying very ill at the Santa Clara Hospital in Madrid. I was visiting him in the previous days. More precisely, I only wanted to visit, but the doctors didn't let me near him. What can I say? It wasn't easy for me to head back home without seeing him. But you know my duties.
Very unfortunate, Father. And you haven't heard any news from your friends since?
I have. Thank our merciful Lord. I couldn't restrain myself for long. An hour ago, I went over to the police station to make a phone call, and I managed to talk to Fernando's doctor. He's feeling better after the operation, and soon he can get up. Sergeant Reollos told me that you visited him and that you are staying at Miss Diez Palencia's house for a few days. I didn't want to miss the opportunity.
I understand everything. Well, I am glad that things turned out this way. If you allow me, I would like to ask you a few questions, Father Perez.
I am listening, Professor.
Please forgive me for being so uninformed, but would you do me a favor and tell me how you determine on which day Easter falls each year?
Well, I can tell you exactly. After the synod held in 325 AD, Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon following the spring equinox. This is sometime between 22 March and 15 April every year. I've heard about that unfortunate case. I said to Sergeant Riollos that it is surprising to me that the young Candelas would stoop so low. But Mr. Alonso Garcia de la Rica's word is so convincing that we can only expect a fair judgment from the Madrid authorities and our highest lord. Quiet, kind person, although there is always some sadness in those beautiful eyes of hers. He was an interesting man, may he rest in peace. It was my conviction for years that he denied the Lord, or he followed another religion. But before his death, he wished to confess, and we had numerous conversations. He was interested in biblical themes. I gave him the extreme unction. The older Candelas was an excellent craftsman. May he rest in peace. He helped us a lot when the church was renovated. He worked for free for months, and he undertook the maintenance free of charge as well. I will remain indebted for him for my entire lifetime. By all calculations, she should be credited with the fact that Carmen and the young Francisco became God-fearing and pious believers as adults. Neither of their fathers was very devout, but there hasn't been a single Sunday when Isabel Candelas hasn't appeared in church. I haven't spoken with him much in the past years. Even though he's originally from France, he speaks the language very well, and I often see him in church. A quiet, reserved man. A strange child. Let's not waste more words on him, Professor. You know, he's the head of the police station. He knows everyone, and the information runs through his hands. We are from two different worlds, he and I, but maybe it's only due to our proximity that we speak much. You know, Reollos keeps me connected to the outside world, since around here one can only find a phone at the police station or in La Taberna Inn at the Plaza de la Mancha. But naturally, I don't like going to pubs.
Mr. Garcia de la Rica doesn't even have a phone?
No, certainly not. I ran into him at the police station last month. He was making a phone call. I know his shop, but I couldn't say I know him himself. I see him rarely. He's cold, but an honest man. He regularly attends Mass together with his son. His poor wife cannot accompany them any longer, but the three of them always used to come together. The loss of Alma Garcia de la Rica really wore Mr. Garcia de la Rica down. Around that time, prayer really helped him a lot. Interesting luck, isn't it? We don't know its secret, unfortunately.
The iron door leads to the tower, doesn't it, Father?
In all probability, it must lead to the tower. But believe me, Professor, I have been serving the Lord in the Church of San Pedro for almost 20 years, but I have never been upstairs. My predecessors and the older people claim that nobody has opened the door for almost 100 years. It can't be anything else than a nest of pigeons, as the bells have been operated from a separate chamber for ages, and the key is nowhere to be found. 15 years ago, during a period of major renovation, we entertained the idea of seeing what might be hidden in the tower. But the architect said that it would be dangerous, structurally, to break through such a large old iron gate. Unless it's absolutely necessary, we should not force it. Well, it was never necessary. I asked Mr. Carlos Candelas once to help create a key to the door, but he said that the lock was so out of the ordinary and complicated that he was unable to solve the riddle. So I abandoned the idea. Since then, I haven't thought of disturbing the pigeons in there.
Sometimes it is really better not to know what is behind certain doors.
Beg your pardon, Professor?
Sorry, I was just musing, Father.